I stared at the business card like it might bite me. Heavy cardstock, expensive weight, with nothing but a phone number embossed in silver. The woman who'd slipped it to me during my shift at the bar had worn more jewelry than I'd earned in 5 years. "One weekend," she'd said. "Discretion guaranteed. Enough to clear any debt." Any debt? The words echoed in my skull as I sat in my cramped apartment. Jehun's medical bills spread across our second-hand table like accusations. 200 million won. My brother's surgery had saved his life and destroyed our future in one precise cut. I called the number. 3 days later, I stood in a hotel lobby that cost more per night than my monthly rent. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. The suppressants I'd taken that morning sat heavy in my stomach. Insurance, the recruiter had called it. Professional distance. Yinwes SI. I turned. The man approaching made my breath catch. Tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a suit that probably cost more than Jehun's semester tuition. But it was his eyes that froze me, dark, calculating, utterly cold. This was an alpha who'd learned to weaponize every advantage biology gave him. "Kang Dae-hoon," he said, not offering his hand. "We should talk before you commit." His office suite overlooked the Han River. I perched on the edge of a leather chair while he poured whiskey I couldn't identify. "You understand what this is?" His voice was measured, controlled. "I need an omega for appearances at a family gathering. You'll accompany me, play a role, maintain the fiction. Nothing more complicated than acting." "And the payment?" 250 million won. Transferred upon completion. My throat went dry. That was 50 million more than Jehun needed. Enough to cover his rehabilitation, his therapy, everything. What's the catch? Something flickered in Dae-hoon's expression. Surprise, maybe, or respect. Smart question. The catch is that the families attending are dangerous. My world isn't safe. You'll be in proximity to people who've killed for less than perceived disrespect. But you'll protect me. I'll protect what's mine. And for this weekend, you'll appear to be exactly that. The possessiveness in his tone should have terrified me. Instead, heat crawled up my spine. I blamed the suppressants. They sometimes made omegas hypersensitive to alpha pheromones. I accept. His smile was sharp as a blade. "Then we begin now. You'll stay here tonight. Tomorrow, we attend the gathering. Sunday evening you're free." The gathering was held at an estate that looked like it had been transplanted from a historical drama. Men in expensive suits clustered in corners, their conversations stopping whenever we passed. I felt their eyes cataloging every detail, my borrowed designer clothes, the way Dae-hoon's hand rested possessively on my lower back, the claiming scent he'd layered over my suppressants. "Dae-hoon." An older alpha approached, his smile not reaching his eyes. "And who is this lovely omega?" "Mine." Dae-hoon's voice dropped into a register that made my knees weak. "Yinwa is under my protection." The claiming in those words was unmistakable. This was the performance, I reminded myself. Just acting. But when Dae-hoon guided me to a quiet corner, his thumb traced circles on my wrist that felt nothing like pretend. "You're doing well," he murmured. "Better than I expected." "Because I'm not cowering?" "Because you're looking at these monsters like they're just men in expensive suits. Most omegas can't manage that." "Maybe I'm good at pretending." His eyes locked onto mine. "Are you? Pretending?" The question hung between us, loaded with implications I wasn't ready to examine. The suppressants should have kept my biology in check, but my pulse hammered traitorously. This close, I could smell him beneath the cologne, something dark and magnetic that made my omega hindbrain purr with interest. "We should circulate," I said, stepping back. His hand tightened briefly on my wrist before releasing me. Of course. That night, back at the hotel, the attraction I'd been denying slammed into me with devastating clarity. Dae-hoon poured wine, his jacket discarded, shirt sleeves rolled to reveal forearms that had no business being that distracting. "You surprised me today," he said. "When Prosecutor Jung made that comment about omegas, you smiled and quoted labor law at him." He looked ready to crawl under the table. He was being an ass. He's a powerful ass. Most people don't challenge him. "I'm only here for 2 days. What's he going to do, ruin my non-existent reputation? Dae-hoon laughed. Actually laughed, the sound rough and genuine. You're either very brave or very stupid. Can't I be both? He moved closer, and suddenly the enormous suite felt suffocatingly small. You're studying art, the file said. What kind? Mixed media. Installation pieces, mostly. Nothing anyone would hang in a gallery like the ones your friends own. Why not? Because I'm interested in how people interact with spaces, not in making pretty things for rich people's walls. His smile turned thoughtful. You don't like rich people much, do you? I don't like people who think money makes them better than everyone else. And yet here you are, accepting my money. The words could have been cruel, but his tone wasn't. If anything, he sounded curious. Here I am, I agreed. Accepting your money to save my brother's life. Judge me if you want, but I'd do worse for him. I'm not judging. Dae-hoon set down his wine, his gaze intense. I'm trying to understand why an omega smart enough to quote law and brave enough to challenge prosecutors is desperate enough to take this offer. Does it matter? You needed someone for a weekend. I needed money. It's just a transaction. Is it? The question echoed my own doubts. Because somewhere between the gathering and this conversation, something had shifted. The way he looked at me didn't feel transactional. The way my body responded to his proximity wasn't just suppressants failing. When he kissed me, I could have stopped it. Should have stopped it. I didn't. Sunday morning arrived too quickly. I woke in tangled sheets, Dae-hoon's arm heavy across my waist. The suppressants had definitely failed. My body still hummed with the aftermath of chemistry too intense to be merely physical. You're thinking too loudly, Dae-hoon murmured against my shoulder. It's Sunday. It is. The arrangement ends today. His arm tightened. It does. Neither of us moved. The silence stretched, loaded with things neither of us would say. This was supposed to be simple. 2 days, a transaction, then back to our separate worlds. Except I'd spent Friday night debating color theory with a Mafia boss who actually knew the difference between Rothko and Reinhardt. I'd woken Saturday to find him sketching on hotel stationery, terrible sketches, but the fact that he tried made something in my chest ache. And last night hadn't been acting. I should go, I said. You should. But he didn't release me. Dae-hoon. I know. His voice was rough. This wasn't part of the deal. No, it wasn't. He finally let me go, rolling away to stare at the ceiling. Your payment will transfer this afternoon. My driver will take you wherever you need to go. Professional. Distant. Like the past 2 days hadn't happened. I gathered my things in silence, hyper-aware of him watching. At the door, I hesitated. Thank you, I said. For everything. Yianwa. Something raw edged his voice. If you ever need. I won't. I couldn't. Whatever this was, it ended here. My world and his didn't intersect beyond this borrowed weekend. The door closed between us with a soft click that sounded like finality. In the car, I checked my phone. The transfer had already cleared 250 million won, just as promised. Enough to save Jihun. Enough to finish my degree. Enough to pretend this weekend had been nothing but a smart financial decision. The driver didn't speak during the ride to my neighborhood. He looked uncomfortable dropping me at my shabby apartment building, like the neighborhood might contaminate his expensive car. I didn't look back. Inside, Jihun was awake, hobbling around on his new prosthetic. Hyung, where were you? I was worried. Work thing, I lied. But I have good news. I paid off your medical bills. All of them. His face lit up, then crumpled. Hyung, what did you do? Nothing I regret, I said and meant it. That night, alone in my bed, I couldn't stop replaying moments. Dae-hoon's laugh. The way he'd listen when I talked about art like my opinions actually mattered. The intensity in his eyes that had nothing to do with business. Just a transaction, I told myself. My body disagreed, already missing his warmth. Just 2 days. But some weekends I was learning could rewrite everything. 3 months later, I stood in front of my senior exhibition piece, adjusting the lighting for the 5th time. Life had settled into something almost normal. Jihun was walking without his cane. My grades were the best they'd ever been. The money from that weekend had bought us breathing room I'd never imagined possible. I didn't think about Dae-hoon. That was a lie. I thought about him constantly, at night mostly, when my brain wouldn't shut off. The way he'd looked at me. The conversations that had felt more real than anything before or since. I'd convinced myself it was just the intensity of the situation, the forbidden nature of it all. My body, apparently, had other ideas. Yinwoo, you okay? My classmate Sarah touched my arm. You look pale. I'm fine, just. The room tilted. I grabbed the wall, but my legs turned to water. The last thing I heard was Sarah screaming my name. I woke to fluorescent lights and the smell of disinfectant. A hospital room. Jihun sat beside the bed, his face drawn with worry. Thank God, he breathed. Hyung, you've been out for 3 hours. The doctors ran tests. Tests for what? I just fainted. Low blood sugar, probably. Yinwoo SI. A doctor entered, her expression carefully neutral. We need to discuss your results. Something in her tone made ice crawl down my spine. Jihun reached for my hand. You're pregnant, she said gently. Approximately 13 weeks along. The words didn't make sense. Pregnant. 13 weeks. That would mean. That's impossible. I was on suppressants. We were careful. Suppressants fail, especially with highly compatible partners. And there's more. She pulled up an ultrasound image on her tablet. You're carrying triplets. The room spun again, even though I was lying down. Triplets. 3 babies. From one weekend 3 months ago. Triplets are extremely rare, the doctor continued. The odds are roughly 1 in 8,000 pregnancies. It typically indicates an exceptional biological compatibility between the parents. Your body recognized the alpha as an ideal mate. No. This wasn't happening. The father, do you have contact with him? The doctor's voice was gentle but firm. Multiple pregnancies are high risk. You'll need significant support, both medical and financial. Your body is already showing signs of strain. I can't. My voice cracked. I don't have his number. It was a one-time thing. Jihun's hand tightened on mine. I couldn't look at him. Couldn't see the questions in his eyes. Then we need to discuss your options, the doctor said. And quickly. Your blood pressure is dangerously high, and you're severely anemic. Whatever you decide, you need to make the choice soon. 2 weeks. I gave myself 2 weeks to figure it out. I tried to continue like normal, going to class, working on my thesis, pretending my body wasn't transforming into something I didn't recognize. But every morning I woke up nauseous. Every afternoon I fought exhaustion that pulled at me like drowning. The triplets were growing and my body was paying the price. I researched Dae-hoon online, finally brave enough to look. Kang Dae-hoon, heir to the Biko Group, a legitimate business empire with very illegitimate roots. There were photos from charity galas, business meetings, always surrounded by serious-looking men in dark suits. No contact information. No way to reach him that wouldn't expose what had happened. I couldn't do this alone. But I had no choice. Hyung, you're getting worse. Jihun cornered me in our apartment one evening. You can barely stand. Please, tell me what's going on. I'm fine. You're not. And you've been crying in the bathroom every morning. I'm not stupid, I hear you. Just drop it, Jihun. His face crumpled. I'd never yelled at him before. But I couldn't explain this. Couldn't tell him I'd sold myself for a weekend and now carried a criminal's children. That night, I collapsed in the shower. The water ran cold over me as I lay on the tiles, too weak to stand, too exhausted to care. I woke up warm. Too warm. Soft blankets instead of cold tiles. The smell was wrong. Expensive soap and something that made my hindbrain recognize safety even before my conscious mind caught up. My eyes flew open. This wasn't my apartment. This was a bedroom 3 times the size of my entire living space, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking a private garden. Medical equipment beeped beside the bed. And 4 ran into my arm. You're awake. Don't move too quickly. I turned my head. A man in a dark suit sat in a chair beside the bed. Not Dae-hoon, but his face was familiar. Tae-jun. Dae-hoon's second in command from that weekend. Where am I? What? How did you find me? We've been looking for 3 months. His expression was unreadable. Boss's orders. We finally located you 2 days ago. Good timing, apparently. Your neighbor called an ambulance when she heard you fall. We intercepted. You kidnapped me from a hospital? We transported you to better care. The doctor says another few days and you might have lost all 3 babies. Your body was shutting down. 3 babies. He knew. They all knew. Where's Dae-hoon? On his way. He's been in Busan handling business. He'll be here within the hour. Tae-jun stood. I'll let you rest. Don't try to leave. The estate is secure, and in your condition, you wouldn't make it past the garden. The door closed with a soft click that sounded like a prison locking. I didn't rest. I paced, despite the 4 stand I had to drag with me, despite the dizziness that threatened with every step. This couldn't be happening. I'd escaped that world. I'd taken the money and left cleanly. Except now 3 lives grew inside me, tethering me to a man I'd tried so hard to forget. The door opened. I spun and there he was. Dae-hoon looked exactly the same. Expensive suit, cold expression, every inch the dangerous alpha I remembered. But something was different. Dark circles shadowed his eyes. His jaw was tight with tension. And when he looked at me, something cracked in that icy facade. You're pregnant. Not a question. A statement of fact. Apparently your people already told you that. 13 weeks. Triplets. He stepped closer and I backed up instinctively. He froze. I'm not going to hurt you. You kidnapped me. I saved you. You were dying in that apartment, Yinwa. The doctor said your body was cannibalizing itself to feed the babies. Another week and he cut himself off, jaw working. So what? You're going to keep me here? A prisoner? A guest? Under my protection? I didn't agree to this. The shout tore from my throat. I don't want your money or your protection. Let me go. You're carrying my children. His voice dropped into that alpha register that made my knees weak. You became my responsibility the moment you conceived. This isn't negotiable. I'm not your possession. He moved fast, crowding into my space until my back hit the wall. But he didn't touch me, just planted his hands on either side of my head, caging me in. No, he said, voice rough. You're the Omega who walked out of my life without a word. Who I searched for every single day. Who I found half dead because you were too stubborn to ask for help. You want to hate me? Fine. But I'm not letting you kill yourself and my children out of pride. Why? The question came out broken. Why do you care? It was one weekend. A transaction. Something dangerous flashed in his eyes. Is that what you think? That I hire Omegas for appearances regularly? That I spend months searching for strangers? Then tell me why you looked. Because I couldn't stop thinking about you. The confession exploded from him. Because I woke up that Sunday and you were gone and it felt like losing something essential. Because I've attended a dozen gatherings since and none of them mattered because you weren't there arguing about art and making prosecutors squirm. Is that what you want to hear? My breath caught. You're lying. I don't lie. He finally stepped back, running a hand through his hair. I'm also not letting you leave. Not until the babies are born safely and you're healthy enough to make an actual choice instead of running on pride and fear. You can't just keep me here. I can. I will. His expression hardened back into that cold mask. Your brother has been relocated to the estate's guest house. He's been informed you're safe and receiving medical care. The doctors will monitor you daily. You'll have everything you need. Except freedom. Except the freedom to destroy yourself. He moved toward the door, then paused. I looked for you, Yinwa. Every day for 3 months. That should tell you something. The door closed behind him. I sank onto the bed, hands instinctively covering my still flat stomach. 3 lives. 3 reasons I couldn't just run anymore. And 1 dangerous alpha who'd apparently been searching for me since the moment I left. The weekend hadn't ended after all. It had just been waiting to catch up. The estate was a gilded cage lined with marble and silk. I woke each morning to breakfast prepared by a private chef, foods I'd never tasted, perfectly balanced for the nutritional needs of a pregnant Omega. A doctor visited daily, checking my blood pressure, the baby's heartbeats, my iron levels. Everything was managed, controlled, monitored. I hated every second of it. "You need to eat more," Taijun said on day 4, watching me push eggs around my plate. He'd been assigned as my primary guard, which meant he was always there. Always watching. "I'm not hungry. The babies need." "I know what the babies need." I slammed my fork down. "I'm growing them inside my body, remember? I think I'm aware." He didn't react to my outburst, just pulled out his phone. "Boss is in a meeting. Should I tell him you're refusing to eat?" "Tell him whatever you want. I'm sure he'll just order me to eat and expect me to obey like a good little Omega." "He's not." Taijun stopped himself, jaw tight. "You don't know him at all, do you?" "I know he's keeping me prisoner. He's keeping you alive. There's a difference." I wanted to argue, but the exhaustion was already creeping back. The triplets drained me constantly. My body was a battleground between my will and their needs, and I was losing. Jihun visited that afternoon. He looked better, healthier, well-rested. The estate was good for him, which somehow made everything worse. "Hyung, this place is incredible." He settled beside me on the couch. "The physical therapist they have is amazing. And Mr. Kong said he'd help me with university applications." "Don't trust him." Jihun's excitement dimmed. "He's been nothing but kind to me. To both of us. He's keeping me here against my will. He's keeping you safe. You almost died, Hyung. I found you on that bathroom floor, blue-lipped and barely breathing. Do you know what that did to me?" His voice cracked. "I thought I'd lost you like we lost Mom." The guilt hit like a physical blow. I'd been so focused on my own anger, I hadn't considered what my collapse had done to him. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "I should have told you. About the pregnancy, about everything. You should have." He took my hand. "But I understand why you didn't. And I know you're scared. But maybe this doesn't have to be a prison. Maybe it could be a chance." "A chance at what?" "Being the mistress of a mafia boss? Raising 3 children in a world of violence and danger?" But looking at Jihun's hopeful face, I couldn't voice those fears. He'd found stability here. Who was I to take that away? The first crack in Daehoon's cold exterior came a week into my captivity. I woke at 3 a.m., violently ill. The morning sickness had evolved into all-day, all-night sickness. I barely made it to the bathroom before my body rebelled. Strong hands pulled my hair back. I was too miserable to fight as Daehoon held me through the worst of it, his presence steady and silent. "I hate you," I gasped between heaves. "I know. This is your fault. I know." When it finally stopped, he cleaned my face with a cool cloth, his touch surprisingly gentle. In the bathroom's harsh light, I could see the exhaustion etched in his features. "Have you slept at all?" I asked without thinking. "Not much." "Why not?" His jaw worked. "You stopped breathing twice the night we brought you here. The doctor got your heart restarted, but..." He trailed off, hands clenching on the washcloth. "I keep thinking about finding you on that floor. How close we came to losing all of you." The raw emotion in his voice cracked something inside me. "You barely know me. Why do you care so much?" "Because I fell in love with you during that weekend." The confession was quiet, matter-of-fact. "And I've been in love with you every day since. Even when I couldn't find you. Even now, when you look at me like I'm your jailer." I couldn't breathe. "That's not, you can't. I'm not asking you to feel the same. I'm just explaining why I'm not letting you go." He stood, setting the cloth aside. "Try to get some rest." He left me sitting on the cold bathroom floor, his words echoing in my skull. After that night, something shifted. Daehoon still maintained distance, but I caught him watching me with an expression that made my chest ache. And I found myself watching back, noticing things I'd missed. The way he came home late every night but still checked on me before sleeping. How he'd somehow procured books on installation art and left them in my room. The fact that he'd converted an entire wing of the estate into a studio space. For me, Taijun admitted when I asked. Boss spent 3 days researching proper lighting and equipment, he said. He wanted everything perfect for when you're ready to work again. Why would he do that? Taijun's expression was almost pitying. Because he's in love with you. Anyone with eyes can see it. The whole organization is talking about how the boss who never smiled suddenly became obsessed with finding one Omega. He turned down 2 arranged marriage offers from powerful families. His father nearly disowned him. My hands instinctively covered my stomach. He refused arranged marriages? 3, actually. The 3rd family took it as an insult. That's why. He stopped himself. That's why what? Nothing. Forget I said anything. But I couldn't forget. That night, I confronted Dae-hoon in his office. Taijun said families were insulted. What did he mean? Dae-hoon looked up from his paperwork, expression guarded. It's handled. That's not an answer. It's the only answer you're getting. Don't you dare shut me out. If I'm in danger because of your decisions, I deserve to know. You're not in danger. You're lying. I can see it in your face. I moved closer, anger overriding caution. Tell me the truth, Dae-hoon. What's coming? For a long moment he just looked at me. Then, heavily, the Park family took my refusal of their daughter as an insult to their honor. They've made threats. Nothing concrete yet, but my security team is monitoring the situation. Because of me. Because of my choices. Don't take on guilt that isn't yours. How can I not? I'm the reason you refuse them. I'm the complication in your perfectly ordered criminal life. You're not a complication. He stood abruptly, papers scattering. You're the first thing that's felt real in my entire existence. Do you think I wanted this? To fall for an Omega I hired for appearances? To become obsessed with someone I spent 1 weekend with? Then why did you? Because you looked at me like I was human. The shout filled the office. Everyone else sees the air. The criminal, the alpha who can buy or kill anything. You saw a man who liked art and made terrible jokes. You saw someone worth knowing beyond the money and power. The silence after his words felt heavy enough to crush us both. I'm scared, I admitted finally. Of this, of you, of what happens when the babies come. I'm scared I'll lose myself in your world. Then don't. He circled the desk slowly. Keep fighting me. Keep arguing. Stay exactly who you are. That's all I want, for you to be safe and free to be yourself, even if that means hating me. I don't hate you. The admission felt like surrender. I wish I could. It would be simpler. Nothing about this is simple. He was close now, close enough that I could smell his scent, still intoxicating, still making my Omega instincts purr with want. 3 months hadn't dulled the attraction. Pregnancy had only intensified it. We can't, I whispered even as my body swayed toward his. I know. But neither of us moved away. The attack came 2 nights later. I woke to gunfire. Taijun burst into my room, weapon drawn. Stay down. The estate's been breached. An explosion rocked the building. Windows shattered. Taijun covered me with his body as glass rained down. We need to move you to the panic room. Where's Dae-hoon? Securing the perimeter. Move now. But before we could reach the door, 3 men burst in. I didn't recognize them, but their intent was clear. Taijun fired, dropping 2. The 3rd raised his gun. Time slowed. I saw Taijun's eyes widen. Saw him realize he couldn't turn fast enough. Then Dae-hoon was there, crashing through the broken window from the balcony outside. He took the bullets meant for me, 1, 2, 3 shots punching into his chest. He fell. No! The scream tore from my throat. I was on the floor beside him, hands pressed uselessly against the blood pumping from his wounds. No, 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 stay with me please. His eyes found mine, already glazing. Baby's safe? I'm fine, we're fine, just stay awake. Looked for you. Blood bubbled at his lips. Every day, couldn't stop. I know, just please don't die, please. His hand found my face, thumb brushing my cheek. Love you, worth it? Then his eyes rolled back, and his hand fell away. The world ended to the sound of my screaming. The hospital became my entire world. Dae-hoon had been in surgery for 8 hours. 8 hours of me sitting in a private waiting room, covered in his blood, surrounded by grim-faced men in suits who wouldn't meet my eyes. Taejun had a bandage on his shoulder but refused to leave. "He'll make it," he kept saying. "Boss is too stubborn to die." But I'd seen the blood. So much blood. "This is my fault," I whispered. "If I hadn't been there, he'd have taken those bullets for any of us. That's who he is." Taejun's voice was rough. "But you're right that it's different with you. I've never seen him move that fast. Never seen him that scared." The surgeon finally emerged at dawn. "He's stable. Critical but stable. The next 48 hours will tell us more." They let me see him. He looked small in the hospital bed, hooked to machines that breathed for him, monitored his heart, kept him tethered to life. I took his hand, careful of the 4 lines. "You can't leave me," I told his unconscious form. "I just figured out I love you too. You don't get to die before I can say it to your face, you understand? That's an order." His fingers twitched in mine. Maybe he heard. Maybe I was imagining it. I didn't leave his side. Jae-hoon arrived that afternoon, pale and shaking. "Hyung, what happened?" "He protected me." My voice sounded dead even to my own ears. "He took bullets meant for me and the babies." "God." Jae-hoon sank into a chair. "This is insane. This whole world is insane." "I know. But you love him anyway." It wasn't a question. I nodded, tears finally breaking free. "I'm so stupid. I love a man who might die because I existed in his life." Or, a new voice said from the doorway, "You love a man who found something worth protecting." I didn't recognize the older man, but his face was similar enough to Dae-hoon's that I knew immediately. His father. The head of the Biko group. "Get out," I said flatly. "I came to see my son." "Your son who refused your arranged marriages? Who you've been trying to control? Get out." Something flickered in his expression. Surprise, maybe respect. But he didn't leave. Instead, he stepped closer, and Jae-hoon moved to stand between us. "I'm not here to threaten you, Omega. I'm here because my son is dying, and there are things you should know. I don't want to hear anything from you." "Too bad." He pulled out his phone, showing me a bank transfer. 250 million won, paid to an account belonging to Park Jae-hoon. 3 months ago. Recognize the amount? Ice flooded my veins. "No. Your brother took money from me. The same amount my son paid you for that weekend." His smile was cruel. "Did you really think it was coincidence? That some random contact offered you to my son? I orchestrated everything." "Hyung." Jae-hoon's voice was small, broken. "What is he talking about?" The older Kong continued mercilessly. "I needed to trap my son. He was getting too powerful, too independent. An unsuitable Omega carrying undeniable heirs. He'd either have to abandon his bloodline or accept public humiliation. Either way, I'd regain control." "You're lying." But I could see the truth in Jae-hoon's face. The guilt. The horror. "I'm sorry," Jae-hoon whispered. "Hyung, I'm so sorry. A man approached me after your first hospital visit, said he could help with the remaining bills. I just had to give him information about you. You sold me." The words felt like ash. "You helped them set me up." "I didn't know. I swear I didn't know what they'd do with it. He said it was just for a job opportunity, I thought." "You thought what?" "That strange men offering millions for information about your Omega brother was legitimate." I couldn't breathe. The room was spinning. "I did this for you. Everything was for you. And you sold me to them. Yeonwoo. Get out. Both of you. Get out." Jae-hoon fled, sobbing. The older Kong lingered, satisfaction in his eyes. "Now you understand. You were never meant to be happy. Just useful." "You miscalculated," I said, voice shaking. "Because your son fell in love with me anyway. And I fell in love with him. Your plan failed." "Did it? Look at him." He gestured to Dae-hoon's unconscious form. "Dying because of you. The Park family attacked because he refused their daughter for a lowborn Omega. Every bullet in his chest is your fault. The words hit like physical blows. Because they were true. Dae-hoon was dying because of me. I felt the first contraction as the old man left. No, no, no. I gripped my stomach, terror flooding through me. Not now. It's too early. 32 weeks is too early. Taejun was on his feet instantly. Get the doctor. Now. Everything happened too fast. They rushed me to the maternity ward. The contractions were intense, unrelenting. My body had decided it was done. 3 babies, the stress, the trauma. It was giving up. We need to stop the labor, the doctor said urgently. The babies aren't ready. I can't. I screamed through another contraction. I can't stop it. Yeonhwa, you have to try. Focus on breathing. I can't do this without him. The grief, the betrayal, the fear, it all crashed over me at once. I can't do this alone. You're not alone. The voice was weak, rough, but unmistakable. I turned my head. They'd brought Dae-hoon in on a gurney, still hooked to monitors, barely conscious. The medical staff was protesting, but he ignored them. Get me in that bed with him, he ordered. Now. Sir, you've just had major surgery. I don't care. My Omega needs me. They helped him, carefully, with much protest, climb into the bed behind me. He wrapped around me as much as the wires and tubes allowed, his scent washing over me despite the medication in his system. I'm here, he murmured against my ear. I've got you. We've got you. Dae-hoon, your father? He said. I know what he said. I know what he did. And none of it matters. His hand found my stomach, cradling where our children fought to be born. Listen to me. That weekend? I fell in love with you the first night. When you argued with me about the commodification of art and ate convenience store ramen like it was fine dining. When you looked at me like I was just a man, not a weapon or a tool. Another contraction tore through me. I screamed, and his grip tightened. I searched for you because I couldn't stop thinking about your smile. The way you challenged me. How you made me want to be better than the monster I was raised to be. His voice was cracking, pain and emotion bleeding through. My father's plan, your brother's mistake, none of that created what I feel. You did. Just by being yourself. I was bait, I sobbed. Just a trap. You were never just anything. You're the Omega who made me believe in futures beyond violence. Who made me want to build something clean for our children. Who made me take bullets without hesitation because losing you would be worse than dying. He pressed his lips to my temple. So fight. For us. For them. For the life I want to give you, not because of obligation, but because I choose you. Every day I choose you. The words broke something open inside me. The fear, the pain, the betrayal, it was still there, but underneath it was something stronger. Real, terrifying, all-consuming love. I choose you too, I whispered. Even though you're infuriating and controlling, and another contraction cut me off. Save the complaints for later. Right now, let's meet our children. The delivery was hell. 32 weeks was too early. The babies were tiny, fragile. But they were fighters, just like their parents. 2 boys and a girl. They whisked them to the NICU immediately, but I heard their cries. Weak but alive. They're okay? Dae-hoon asked, his own strength fading. Critical but stable, the doctor said. Just like their father. He laughed weakly. Runs in the family. The next weeks were a blur. Dae-hoon recovered slowly. The triplets grew stronger in their incubators. I spent days between the NICU and his room, watching over all 4 of them. Taejin visited, bringing news. Boss restructured everything. Cut ties with his father completely. The old man's out of the organization. Several families have withdrawn support, but the core is solid. He did all that while recovering from being shot? He did it for you. And them. Taejun nodded toward the NICU. He's building something different. Something his children won't have to be ashamed of. Jihoon came once, staying in the doorway. Hyung, I know I don't deserve forgiveness. But I'm leaving. I've enrolled in university abroad. I can't undo what I did, but I won't make your life harder by staying. Part of me wanted to hate him. But he was my brother. Send me your address. When you're ready, when I'm ready, maybe we can talk. He nodded, tears streaming. I love you, Hyung. I'm so sorry. 6 months later, I stood in the estate's main hall, the triplets healthy and thriving. The assembled families watched as Dae-hoon marked me officially, the bonding ceremony that would make me his acknowledged mate. This Omega, Dae-hoon announced, is my choice. Not my father's. Not circumstances. Anyone who disrespects him disrespects me. The mark on my neck burned with completion. I felt the bond snap into place, solid and unbreakable. That night, in our bedroom with 3 sleeping babies in bassinets nearby, I finally felt peace. Still think you made the right choice? I asked, tracing the scars from his surgery. Best decision I ever made was looking for you. He pulled me closer. That weekend changed everything. It was supposed to be a transaction. It was fate giving me one chance. He kissed me softly. I'm just grateful I was smart enough to fight for it. Outside, the world continued. But here, in this moment, we'd built something real from manipulation and violence. A family. A future. A love that had survived everything meant to destroy it. The weekend had finally, truly ended. And forever was just beginning.